This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Well, my friends, if you've been struggling with sales, you are in the right place. My guest is Wes Schaeffer, the sales whisperer. How are you, my friend?
I thought you were giving me the advice today. I'm just tuning in to learn from you, man.
Well, welcome to episode XXX, whatever this ends up being. And let's all listen to some good sales advice from my buddy
Let's
Wes.
listen as David pontificates once again.
Exactly right. Well, Wes, let's start by how you became the sales whisperer and paint us a quick professional journey of what brought you to what you're doing today.
You know, I was born that way, man. It just took me a while to recognize it. You know what I'm saying? I was classically trained at the Air Force Academy. So I was just groomed to be into sales. I was in the first ever sales training bachelor degree service from the Air Force Academy. Maybe not. So obviously it had nothing to do with sales, right? But I did learn in the military how to stick with things. The Marines call it Semper Fi, and all the military calls it Semper Gumby, right? Always flexible. Just get the job done. And after my time in service, I wanted to get out. I wanted to get into sales because I knew that's where the money was. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and I didn't want to have money struggles. And I didn't want to get paid based on tenure, right? I wanted to get paid on production. And so with a wife, we had a young son. He was 6 months old. We had another one on the way. We didn't know it, though. And I left. I was a captain in the Air Force, had a good living. Our house was paid for, lived on base, water, electricity, trash. We were on the 10th T box, the back bay of Biloxi, free health care, and threw it to the wind and jumped into sales. 6 months later, I ended up in a lawsuit with my employer. It took me 3 years to win, but I was on unemployment when my second son was born. But just kept sticking it out.
That was your corporate sales career selling for a company.
Right. I was working as a stockbroker. And it's kind of like laws and sausage, right? You don't want to see how they're made behind closed doors in a financial services company. It ain't pretty. But just kept failing forward and kept improving despite the headwinds. And I noticed around 2006, I was more focused on growth and doing things the right way than my boss. And I began laying the groundwork to go out on my own. And what I did was I found a program, I invested in the program, and I liked it so much, I became the first licensee of that instructor. So I didn't go out totally on my own, right? It was all my own business. He didn't give me any leads, but at least I had structure, I had a mentor, and that gave me the confidence to plow ahead on my own. And so I bought the domain name in 2006. I went on my own full-time in 2007. I actually went back into corporate America a couple of times along the way. I mean, with the wife and now 7 kids, it was in the financial collapse of '08. So there were some interesting times. Now, the great thing was I was recruited back into what I used to do in high tech, and I was allowed to keep the sales whisperer going, right? Which was kind of unique. So I was able to go back on my own terms, but it has all paid off. And now here we are.
Yeah, boy. So I want to talk about that bobbing and weaving in and out of the corporate job, because I did that. A couple of our other guests have done that. There seems to be this perceived shame. Like, oh my gosh, I can't cut it as an entrepreneur, or I'm not making the money. I got to go back and get a day job. What I found was, and maybe you had a similar experience, all of your friends, all of your fans, all of the people around you, they could not be more thrilled at every pivot and every turn in your business, whether it's, hey guys, I'm going back in to get a job. And I remember going, oh my God, I'm so ashamed. This is so terrible. This is so awful. Everyone's like, dude, congratulations. That job sounds like it's a perfect fit for you. That's totally awesome. And there were celebrations and cards and parties and all kinds of stuff. Then 12 months later, when I go back out on my own again, guess what? Same thing. Oh, you're going to be a great entrepreneur. This is so fantastic. Welcome back to the party. And there was no shame. There was no feeling bad. There was no nothing except people celebrating your decision to be successful
Right.
in whatever format that needed to take at that time. What's been your experience of that? I mean, did you feel a little bit of weirdness when you kind of went back in and then came back out and then went back in and came back out? Or did you have a much healthier approach to it than I did?
No, I felt weird. It was self-imposed.
Right.
Right. So just like you said, oh, I'm no good. I can't cut it, blah, blah, blah. And, in my case, I mean, both times I was recruited back in. So I was able to go on my terms. And once was early on, based on my financial background, I was reading the tea leaves. We rented our house in California for 6 years before we bought. And I was able to buy at the bottom. And that was the second time I went back. So that allowed me to buy a house because I didn't have the runway, right, as a self-employed person to qualify for a loan at that point. So that enabled me to buy a home at the absolute bottom of the market, the absolute lowest interest rates. There was some strategic steps that I took, but I still felt a little unworthy. I mean, whatever the word, like, man, why am I not, making $10 million by now? It seems like everybody else, by their second month, they're all millionaires with private jets. What's wrong with me? And the reality is it's always harder than it appears, on TV.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So we've got the Sales Whisperer brand. That's a great brand. I mean, what a great moniker, and it fits everything that you do from the speaking, the training, the consulting, the CRM work. Did you come up with that brand on your own? Did you hire like a branding consultant? Did you run this by a mastermind group? How'd you come up with such a great brand?
I am too cheap and arrogant to pay a branding company. And I feel like I'm pretty good at it as well. But no, it was my idea. I was literally watching The Dog Whisperer, September 1st, 2006. It was a Saturday, I'm pretty sure. I had my laptop on my lap and, I had my day job. I was laying the groundwork. I was working with this sales trainer to become his first licensee. So the path was being laid out. And I remember Cesar Millan saying that he rehabilitates dogs and he trains their owners. And I thought, I do that. I rehabilitate salespeople that have been abused by bad managers, and I train their managers because most sales managers have not had training. They were a top performing salesperson, aggressive, lone wolf, go-getter, scorched earth. And then they're made a manager. And those attributes that made them a great salesperson did not really make them a great manager. And so I'm like, they need training, and the salespeople are being beaten. They need to be retrained. And it hit me. I bought it. And literally 10 days later, somebody emailed me, asked me if I wanted to sell that domain name. And I was like, nope, just got it.
Good thing that you acted when you acted, because if they would have snagged it first 10 days later.
I know. Don't let $10 slow you down. But I have realized now I don't buy as many domain names. I'm letting more and more of them expire. You don't need 37 domain names for every idea that you get.
You're talking to the wrong guy, Wes, because I've got 400 plus domain names.
Oh my gosh. I'm feeling good because I'm down around maybe 50, but 7 of those are my kids' names. So, every time they're born, I would buy their name. And it got harder and harder over the year because more and more people did it, right? So I had to start using middle names and stuff, but at least my kids all have their domain name.
Totally fantastic. Well, we've got so much to talk about. My goodness. So I want to talk about sales training versus sales and marketing automation.
Okay.
Because you are also super savvy with sales technology, sales process automation, platforms like HubSpot, Infusionsoft, etc. Did you first get into the sales training side or the technology side, or what was added to what over the years?
When I started, it was just sales training. Now, as a salesperson, I had used databases from the beginning. Certainly by my second job, which was only 6 months after I left the Air Force, selling mobile homes, right? We had just a green screen kind of input, but the home office wanted the information on prospects that came on the lot. And because salespeople are all coin operated, they hit us in the pocketbook. So if we registered that lead, and if they came back later and bought, on a day off, on vacation, and as long as you registered them, you got half the commission. If you did not register them, and some guys would work with these people for days and days and not enter their information. And then they'd go cold and they'd come back and they'd buy. If they weren't in the system, they didn't get the money. Right. So there I was, right? I had a wife. My two sons are less than a year apart. So I got two little kids at home and a wife, and I had to make money, right? It was like, I will follow the process. I will enter the contact information into the database. And then when I got into high tech, working with startups, they all use different CRMs, Onyx, Siebel, Salesforce.com, you name it. We use a bunch of them. And so I always embraced the technology because I didn't see it as Big Brother looking over me. I saw it as freeing me up. The reports would be spit out. I wouldn't have to update spreadsheets for the weekly meeting. I'd just tell the boss, it's in the CRM, right? I was comfortable with them. I was always kind of pushing the envelope. Like, I remember using templates inside of Salesforce when nobody else was doing it because I could click, it could merge, streamline things. So when I started on my own, there was a local company that actually had their own little CRM and marketing automation platform. And they wanted me to rep it. So I got it for free if I would help promote it, right? And then get an affiliate commission. So it wasn't very long after that, I stumbled across Infusionsoft. And back then it was $5,000 down, $300 a month for a 5-user license. But I saw the potential. They let you split up the payment. So I got started, and then I found out about their partner program. And their partner program had a loophole. So I'm always good. I'm a salesman. I'm coin operated. I'm good at finding the angle, right? And that angle was if you spent $2,500, so half of that $5,000, and you went to Phoenix, back then I think they were in Mesa, and you attended 5 days of training and you passed their test, you got a free license for life. And I'm like, okay, I saved $2,500 and I saved $3,600 a year on the software, and I can sell it, right? I'm like, I like it. I'm going to use it anyway. I'm going to tell everybody about it. I might as well get paid for it. And so that's what I did. And actually, I had a partner, a friend of mine that was still with the previous startup. I had him pay that $2,500. So basically, I got reimbursed. And I said, I'll go take the test. So I paid for the travel and the lodging and took the test. So I'll go pass the test and we'll share the license. And that's what we did. And the rest is almost sort of kind of history.
Almost sort of kind of. I like it. Hey, this interview is a real moneymaker. If you're serious about ramping up your reach and revenue as a speaker, trainer, or expert, book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you invest in your speaking-driven business. Speaking of value, let's get back to the show. Well, now people can work with you, it looks like, anywhere from maybe an hour to multiple years,
right.
Correct? So we've got the initial assessment,
right?
Be paid, kind of diagnostic, deep dive, what's going on with your sales team, what's going on with your process,
right.
What's going on with your technology, where are you with sales training, 1 hour deep dive paid diagnostic session, from which I'm guessing there's some sort of prescription or recommendation for some follow-up work. Right. And then there's people that work with you on a consulting basis or as their software partner or their software consultant or their sales training consultant for year after year after year. How did you develop that product suite above and beyond, hey, I can come speak for an hour, I can come give you a day of sales training, which we can all think about, hey, I can do a 1 hour keynote, I can do a 1 day training. How did you expand that portfolio, or what came first to your mind?
Yeah, it's always trial and error a little bit, and it's still evolving. I'm actually in the process of narrowing down the offerings, tightening that up, but trial and error. When I hired that one mentor, I took his class. It was a 12-week class. It was a teleclass. And it really drove home the point of that reinforcement type training. My dad got me golf lessons 26 years ago today. And I don't know if he loves me or hates me, right? Because it's just a crazy game. But You can go to a 2-day golf clinic, 8 hours a day, go play 2, 3, 4 rounds, just wear yourself out. And you'll probably learn a little bit, but how much will really stick versus taking a 1-hour lesson with your pro like every week for 12 weeks? There's some things that just you need to go let it bake in, right? So I knew from the beginning that longer term training is better at producing the desired results because nobody wants sales training. Just like nobody wants a drill, right? They want a hole, they want wood screwed together, and the drill's the means to the end. So I understood that, right? And some people want that short, intense, pop. That's fine. If they want it 2 days, I would try to shorten it to 1 and then maybe 4 calls or even 8 calls to help reinforce it. And then because I got Infusionsoft so early on in launching my business, in less than 2 years, I had it and was moving forward. That became a dominant part of my business. I was fortunate to be very early on in their launch and became one of the top salespeople as far as partners. And so I followed their roadmap a little bit and then would customize what the customer wanted insofar as training. And then as I added to my team, what were they good at? Some were very good at a project launch. Some were better at holding someone's hand long term. So I began just evolving those offerings, and then what's the best way to bring them on? So I'll give almost anybody a free 15 minutes, if they go to my website and there's a detailed form. So you got to answer all the questions, and so if you won't answer the questions, then you don't get 15 minutes. But even then I'll look at it. If it doesn't look right, we might email them and say, I don't think it's a fit. But after that 15 minutes, then I talk about that assessment. And it's more than an hour. I won't cut them short. But I want to make sure we get to the heart of the matter. But within 1 or 2 calls, we're going to know what's going on in their lives. And then we'll make a recommendation, right? A prescription based on the diagnosis. And again, I try to do it quickly. I tend to push towards like a 90-day intensive working with them. Quite often they'll renew, and so we'll take that 90-day and it'll get renewed 3, 4, 5 times. But they're never under any pressure to stick around. I'm not trying to squeeze them for a 1 or 2 year contract. That's just been my approach. Now, as I have evolved, I am going after a little bigger clients now, a little bigger companies. And because of the sheer size of the businesses, there's more politics, there's more people to talk to and coordinate and get up to speed. I'm pushing towards longer agreements for those types of entities. But for the small business, the entrepreneur, I remain flexible because I still remember, when I was starting out, like I need help, but man, do I have to sign up for $2,000 a month for, 12 months? Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to get out of that? So I try to meet them where they are, but again, within reason, because you can have too many options and a confused mind says no.
Right.
Right. And I'm trying to streamline. I'm trying to simplify my own business. And so, you got to be a product of your own product.
For sure. So in other words, your model is we teach it to you. We do it with you, a little bit of done for you mixed in. There are folks that come to you for a one-time thing, and you also have an online course. You have an online course, and you also have like a recurring revenue sort of membership model.
Right.
The software, obviously, recurring revenue affiliate commission. But tell us about how you got into these more scalable ways that people can buy you and stay connected to your brilliance.
Yeah, scaling is always key. If you have too much money coming from one source, you're at risk because if that goes away, you're in trouble. And so multiple streams of income. And really, that's why I got into financial services. I knew the model, right? Work hard for a few years, build a base of business. You're selling insurance, you're selling mutual funds, whatever, and you'll get commissions, as long as they're a client. So I liked that sell it once, get paid repeatedly. And so that was nice when I found Infusionsoft and then Entreport and HubSpot because they pay you ongoing. So I like that. But then it's like, how can I help more people? Well, if I have an online program, the hosting of that material, that digital content is very inexpensive. And then using something like Zoom is only $15, $30, $45 a month. So I can have hundreds of people on a call and help them for not much money. So I can charge less and help more people in that model. And so so years ago, probably 5 years ago, I taught myself the first membership platform I ever had called 30-Day Sales Growth. And so I made 30 lessons, right? Video, handouts, content, bonus content. So I'm a product of the product. I don't show or teach or recommend anything if I haven't done it first. So I want to be familiar with it. And so that gave me, speaking, sales training, software sales, and now start building my own brand because that's more my focus right now. Because if you think of Zig Ziglar or Tony Robbins, you don't think of Salesforce.com or Constant Contact with them, right? They're their own brand. So, Wes 2.0 is working on establishing that firmly on my own. But I do like the software and there is a big need. And I do like the income. So it's, just develop multiple streams. But I think people get in trouble when they don't focus at first. I didn't branch out for years. I was an Infusionsoft expert first. Then I added HubSpot. I was a sales training expert first before I added Infusionsoft. So buckle down, get really good, then build the next and the next.
Wes, do you feel one of the key questions when you're looking at that next level or that next version of your business is, okay, you've developed a tribe, you've developed a following, a fan base, a list, if you will. You know what these people need on the front end. Is one of the operative questions, what do these same people need after they're done with my first offer? So after they're done with the sales training, you used to cut them loose and say, hey, good luck. Go get a CRM and go set it up right and go use it. And then you're like, wait a second. Now that second part is broken. So now I'm in the CRM business. Now they're in the CRM business. They've got the sales training and the CRM. What else do they need? They need ongoing support. They need ongoing reinforcement. They need repetition, application, conditioning of that muscle. So now we have the course plus the continuity and access to the community. How else has that question played a role about what else do these same prospects and clients need from me?
Yeah, and it took me a while to internalize this for myself, right? When I sold mobile homes or anything else, I had no problem with, you need land, you need a carpenter, you need a septic tank, right? You need a satellite dish. Furniture, right? I'm loading them up if that's what they needed. But when it came to myself, I had this hang up like, okay, you hired me for sales training. I would just be a manipulative, greedy little jerk if I talked to you about CRMs or copywriting or anything else. And I had to get over that, right? Because the reality is they do need all these other things. And it helped me early on with Infusionsoft because I had my sales training. I used that as a sweetener for people to buy Infusionsoft from me. So I could throw that in and without having to discount Infusionsoft, right? So that gave me a leg up because others were doing something similar. Most of my competitors were more technical, so they would throw in a bonus software suite, something that would enhance the product. So my leg up was like, look, you're an entrepreneur. You're buying this not to have more tools. You're buying this to make more sales. And I'm the sales guy, so buy the software and I'll teach you how to grow your sales as well. And I'll do it as human to human instead of geek to human. Right. And so that was a big selling point for me. But yeah, when you're doing it on your own, and maybe I'm just a weirdo and I understand, but it was hard for me to internalize, like, it's okay to sell them multiple things that I do, or bundle it all together. It's funny, right? I'm the sales whisperer, but deep down, I hate selling. I don't want somebody to feel like they've been sold, right? I want it to feel natural. It's a foregone conclusion. I'm the obvious choice. Let's just work together. You're going to pay me. I'm going to give you a tremendous ROI on that investment. You're going to come out way ahead in this relationship. That's how I've always approached it.
Offer value, invite engagement. It's a win-win for everybody.
Right.
Super quick commercial break. Isn't this interview amazing? If you'd like to get more ideas on how to start or grow your speaking business fast, pop over to our free training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. Let's talk about your book. And the book is called The Sales Whisperer Way. And I recommend this book. Get this book. It is written in a very similar way to my book, to the Do It Marketing book, which is short bursts, little micro chapters, sound bites, nuggets, tactics, philosophies, principles, aha insights that people can just flip open almost anywhere in your book and go, oh my God, I can use that this afternoon. Oh my goodness, that's the tactic, that's the soundbite that I need to take with this prospect, with this client. Talk about the process of writing the book and how that book has perhaps crystallized some of your thoughts that you've always been teaching and preaching and speaking about.
I might have had like one unique idea in my whole life, but I'm having trouble remembering which one that was. There was a guy that I know and have read for many years called the Wizard of Ads, and he has the Monday Morning Memo. And he's written it nonstop for over 20 years, maybe 30 years. I don't even know. It's a long time. And so I started the Weekly Whisper, and it was just my weekly email newsletter, and got a lot of compliments on it. It's non-standard in its approach. Again, I try to be a product of the product. I do writing for some clients. I've done all my own writing. So it was unique. It was attention getting. It was, and it was my style. Very conversational, very tongue in cheek, very irreverent, cut to the chase. I'm a very practical type person. Like if it doesn't make sense, don't do it. All right. Show me why that we should do it this way. And so it was a collection of stories. And so my first book was actually the Infusionsoft, the definitive guide to Infusionsoft. So I wrote that in 2012. And that was just so specific, right? So it helped me stand out in that community, but I needed to broaden, right? I had too many eggs in the Infusionsoft basket. I don't own that company. They've changed the rules multiple times. So I couldn't build a big, towering skyscraper on land I didn't own, right? So I'm like, I got to have my own book. And so that's where this one came from. So looking at what Roy had done with his books, they were just collections of his Monday Morning Memo. So the URL for this is 79stories.info. And the reason it's 79 stories is because that's how many it took to be about 220 pages. Because I figured it needs to be over 200 pages to be a meaningful book. And I've since updated it. It's probably like 83 or 84, but I'm not changing the URL. So if somebody wants to count, they'll realize they got a bonus. And then in the process of upgrading it, right, I updated URLs, changed out a couple of stories, added some new ones just to stay current with the times. And I offer different programs now. I've canceled some, added new ones. So it gave me a chance. I just updated it this past winter. So it's brand spanking new in its current form. But, what a difference, right? It's the new calling card. Everyone should jot something down, even in a small booklet. It'll help you stand out and be seen as more of an expert.
Now, we cannot possibly cram all of your sales knowledge into this one podcast episode. So that means two things. That means people definitely need to go to 79stories.info and grab a copy of The Sales Whisperer Way. That's going to hold you over until we have Wes back on another episode. But as far as speakers, consultants, solopreneurs, in your experience, what are 2 or 3 big ideas that could improve almost anyone's sales immediately, understanding that most of us suck at selling to begin with?
Well, it's kind of like investing. If you listen to big investors like Warren Buffett or whatever, they make their money going in. So they buy right. So as salespeople, we need to buy right. And so what I mean by that is we have the right and the ability to disqualify our prospects. And it is not semantics. Okay. I know when I was young, they're like, who's a prospect for this? Well, everyone's a prospect. Like bottled water, right? Well, everybody needs water. The human body is 80% water. So everyone's a prospect for bottled water. No, they're not. Maybe they're poor. Maybe they don't trust water. Maybe they live off of a well, whatever. So not everyone is a prospect, even for water. So choose who to lose and understand when you show up on that first appointment and even the second and the third, you shouldn't be doing a lot of talking. When you go see the doctor, that doctor's not sitting there telling you where he went to school, where he did his residency, what brand of MRI is that, the stethoscope, who made that? Is that aluminum? What is that, stainless steel? You don't care, right? Your arm hurts, your throat hurts. You just want to make the pain go away. He can't diagnose. He can't prescribe. So you ask a lot of questions. Does it hurt when I do it here? Does it hurt when it moves here? How long has this been an issue? Are you allergic to anything? Have you traveled outside the country? They're asking all these questions. And then they're like, okay, I think I know. So you can do the same thing. Show up and ask more questions. Okay. And it's harder than it sounds because, I mean, you can ask questions like the police. David, where were you last night at 10:23 p.m.? You know, you're like, oh, man. And they just feel like they're under the gun. So it needs to be conversational. You do need to share some pertinent facts. Again, keep it conversational. Educate them insofar as they're comfortable that you know what you're talking about. But choose who to lose, right? Ask better questions. And then from there, be slow, be methodical, be deliberate with the delivery of the prescription or the diagnosis. Because if you rush into it, they're going to feel like you just got it in your hip pocket. You just one size fits all. You're just throwing this out there anyway. And maybe you are to a degree, right? If the strep throat's going around, the doctor, he probably walking around with a Z-Pack, with bags of them. But you don't trust the diagnosis until they take the time. So take your time delivering the options. We need to understand that we have to change how we sell to match how the prospect buys. Okay. Some people are hard chargers. If you call me and, hey, how you doing? How's the weather? Did you watch the game? Are you watching the Final Four? How's your bracket doing? I'm like, I'm in a fantasy football league with my college buddies, and we talk more smack to one another, and it's crazy. But if I don't know you and it's, 11 o'clock in the morning, I got stuff to do, you got to pick up on my buying style and meet me where I am and then bring me along. It's harder to do than it sounds, but if you just start observing, take note of how the people are. Are they in a suit? Are they in a crumpled shirt? Do they have a stain on their tie? Okay, they're wearing a suit, but the tie's undone. There's a stain. It looks kind of crumpled. There's probably a stain on the sleeve. They wear the same jacket over and over. They don't really care. They just kind of have to do it. Is the office a mess? Is the office meticulous? Do they have an assistant? Is the assistant meticulous? When you're in their office, is it just wrapped with memorabilia and personal stuff, or is it just stark? You can tell how they answer the phone, right? Hello, Schaeffer, this is Wes. Hey, it's a great day. How you doing? This is Wes. How can I help you? All those things tell you. Is the window open? Am I driving with the sunroof open? Now boarding for Chicago, all those things tell me something about how I need to adjust my presentation at that exact moment. So be very present, very observant of what's going on, and learn to adjust your delivery to match how they want to receive. And life is going to change for the better for you.
Love all of those tips. Last couple of questions for you, Wes. What is the next big adventure or the next big pivot that you see coming ahead in your business over the next 6 to 12 months?
So I'm focusing a lot more on speaking. I've delivered several keynote talks, but people have just found me. I got a couple pages on my website, but now I'm going after that business and I'm moving upstream, not only with HubSpot, but even on their enterprise level. So it's a higher dollar platform. It's a 1-year agreement. So, the solopreneurs, the smaller businesses, I've got a free quiz, bestcrmforme.com. They can take a quiz. It'll spit out answers based on 6 different platforms. And then I'll walk them through helping that decision. So they pick the right one because I'm an affiliate. So I'm going to earn $1 a month, maybe, $50, $80, $100 a month, depending. So I'll help them in that, but I'm targeting bigger businesses, and only because I've just done it so long, kind of like a realtor, right? It takes just as much effort to sell a $100,000 house as an $800,000 house, but the commission's a lot bigger on the bigger house. So right. I'm just kind of moving upstream a little bit with that, but still launching other programs to help smaller businesses, folks that are, when I got started, I was using Zoho, the free CRM, because I didn't have the money. So I get it, right? But always invest in yourself. I've gotten into more trouble over the years by just not trusting myself, thinking somebody else, they're the smart ones. I'm going to invest in their real estate project, this apartment, this franchise. I'm like, invest in yourself, hire good coaches, good mentors, join masterminds. It's always going to be a better investment than thinking someone else has the magic and they don't.
Totally love it. Absolutely right. Well, as we wrap up here, and we totally have to have you back for a much deeper dive on the whole sales piece. And thank you for sharing your journey, because that was, I think, hugely enlightening for our folks listening. How can people get connected and stay connected to the Wes Schaeffer empire?
Empire. I like the way you say that. Just go to thesaleswhisperer.com. Everything's there, right? Contact us. It comes to me. There's a pop-up there on the little help chat thingy. So I've got a robot that does that. But if I'm free, it notifies me and you actually get me. Then all my social media is in the footer. I'm active online. I don't have VAs. So if you get a response, it's coming from me. So everything's there. So just thesaleswhisperer.com. I'm LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all those, or you can just call me.
Super simple, my friend. Well, you are awesome. Thank you for this tremendous wisdom that you shared today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.